The night air was cool and rainy. There was a thunderstorm going on, and the power went out. It was about 11:30 p.m., and I was hanging out at my apartment with some friends, Mikey and Chris. They wanted to tell some stories to pass the time until the power came back on. Mikey told us some stupid stories about stuff that we never knew actually happened, but we found amusing. Mikey then asked, "Have you ever heard about the urban legend, the Midnight Man?" Chris and I responded with a no. Mikey continued and told the urban legend. There's an old story that goes around the town that talks about the Midnight Man. He goes around looking for his next meal and only comes out at midnight. He lures people outside by screaming for help. He's here for 1 hour and then he's gone until the next night. Chris and I chuckled. We found this story more ridiculous than all the other ones Mikey told us that night. Chris said, "Listen, Mikey, you tell some pretty weird stories, but this one definitely takes the cake. Listen to me and don't listen to me. I don't care. I'm getting out of here before 12 o'clock, said Mikey. Mikey then left my apartment and left Chris and I confused. We shook it off and acted like it never happened. Right at that moment, the power came back on. What time is it? I asked. 12:02, Chris responded. Chris and I then sat on the couch. It was unsettling and quiet. What do you want to do now? Chris asked. I don't know. I was interrupted mid-sentence. A shrieking scream came from outside on the road. Help! Exclaimed the person outside. We opened the window and saw a man standing in the shadows. And Chris said, Very funny, Mikey. Now either come back up or go home. The figure didn't move. I don't think that's Mikey, Chris. His car isn't outside anymore. Well, maybe he moved it, Chris said. I'm going to go outside and get him. I thought to myself that this wasn't a good idea, but I let Chris go and check it out because Mikey's story couldn't have been true. I looked out the window and saw Chris walking towards who he thought was Mikey. I decided to go outside too, just to see what was happening up close. Chris grabbed the figure's hand and said, Come on, dude, stop messing with us. The person who he thought was Mikey then grabbed Chris back and looked at him. I couldn't believe what I had seen. The man had no face. What the hell? Screamed Chris. He tried to break free, but the man would not let go of his hand. With a sudden jerk, the man pulled Chris's arm. The man let go, and the limb fell to the ground. Chris was in shock and couldn't believe what was happening. He didn't move. He didn't scream. He just stood there. Chris looked up at me. I saw him say something. He opened his mouth and said, Go. Chris dropped to the ground. I assumed he passed out from all the blood loss. I was panicking and froze in fear. My sense then came back to me as the man walked towards me. I started running away. I didn't look back and I sprinted. I started screaming, Help! Help! As I ran, but I don't think anyone could hear me. I ran as far as I could until I had to stop and breathe. I looked up and felt a cold breath on the back of my neck. I turned around and there he was, the Midnight Man. I started backing up and I tripped over my feet. He got closer and closer until he was right in my face. I closed my eyes, thinking this was the end. A few seconds later, I opened my eyes. He was gone. He disappeared. I took my phone out of my pocket and checked the time. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I had barely escaped death. I ran back to my apartment and saw Chris's body. I ran over to him and he was still alive by some miracle. I called 911 and the paramedics came. They asked me what had happened and I told them I didn't know because it's not like they would have believed me anyway. Chris ended up being okay, but he did lose his arm. After that, I then learned my lesson to never go out past midnight. "You're doing great, sweetheart." My daughter, Alicia, flashes me a quick smile, but she looks uncertain. This is the first time we've really tested her skills outside of her weekly swimming lessons. Her ability to tread water is much better than I had seen before. The waves are making things a bit trickier for us both, but she's impressing me nonetheless. "Where's Dad?" she asks. "He's just over there." I tilt my head to the left. I can't actually see him from here, but I know he's there somewhere. She instinctively moves her head to look for him. "Don't look," I say a little more sharply than I meant to. "Keep your eyes on me. Keep concentrating on what you're doing. I know how easily you get distracted." "Sorry, Mom." "That's okay, honey. You're doing great." The water here is biting cold, but I feel like I'm gradually getting used to it. Occasionally, we'll get slapped by a big wave that we didn't see coming and swallow a bit of the salty sea, but I want her to keep going as long as she can manage. "I'm scared, Mom." "That's normal. There's really no need to panic. I'm right here with you, and we're going to get through this together, okay?" "Okay." I'm trying not to show how the fear in me is slowly taking over. I've never been a fan of the water, and only learned to swim myself a few years before Alicia was born. I'm getting tired here, so I know she must be too. But at least the screams have stopped now. Our cruise liner has all but disappeared beneath the surface. The last light we have is the fire that consumed it. When that goes out, we'll be in total darkness. All we can do is keep treading water and hope that the rescue teams will be here soon. Thank you for listening, everyone. I want to give a quick shout out to tonight's authors. They are incredible writers, and if you've enjoyed their work, go into my description, click on the Reddit pages, and check out all their creepy stories. And remember, stay haunted, my friends. I'll see you next time.